Hi, here are notes for Monday about solving one variable inequalities. So if you haven't already yet put your name on your new digital notebook, you want to open that up real quick and get that done, as well as filling in the table of contents on slide 5. So this is going to be on slide 7. Today we're doing solving inequalities, so you can go ahead and put that right there on slide 5. Again, I did upload a PDF of this. Other than that, you're just going to go ahead and handwrite these. So you're just going to handwrite on a piece of paper. You can title it Solving One Variable Inequality Notes. You do not need to write out the essential question. This is already going to be on the slides presentation. But the essential question is basically, how are solving inequalities similar to solving equations? How are they different? Okay, so like we did on Friday, our goal is going to be, instead of finding what number our equation is equal to, we're going to find what number our equation is unequal to, I guess you could say. Find what number the variable is unequal to. All right, so your steps, the steps that we're going to do today are basically the exact same as when you were solving equations. You're going to work backwards to isolate x. So use the same steps as solving equations. Work backwards to isolate x. It's basically what you're doing. But there's a big old except down here. So we want to know this big exception. The only thing that's different with it solving inequality is that if you multiply or divide by a negative sign or a negative, you have to remember to flip the sign. So except when you multiply or divide by a negative, number, you must flip the sign. I'm writing any caps. I'm not yelling, just that part's important. Flip the sign. Okay, so what we're going to look at is when we are graphing these on a number line as well. So you're going to have an inequality in this box. It says x, a box, and a number. You could have a less than symbol. You might have a less than or equal to symbol. You might have a greater than symbol or a greater than or equal to symbol. You're going to have some sort of symbol in this box. When you graph them, you pay attention to that sign that you have. You always want your x on the left and then your number part on the right. And then when you graph them, you're either going to have an open or closed circle. This is your circle. You're either going to have an open or closed circle. And then you're going to have either shaded to the left or shaded to the right. This is the way that you're going to be shaded. So you can write that down, draw a little box. So your inequality that is going to be in there, okay? If you were going to shade to the left and it's an open circle, it would be a less than symbol. If x is less than a number, you have an open circle and you're shaded to the left. If you have a closed circle, but you're shaded to the left, that would be a less than or equal to symbol. If you have a greater than symbol, that means you're going to have an open circle shaded to the right. And if you have a greater than or equal to symbol, that's going to be a closed circle, but shaded to the right. So here's like an open circle. Here's a closed circle. I guess I could draw, you don't have to write that part. Let's draw it on the little number line. I put the little number line here. This would be an open circle shaded to the left, This would be a closed circle shaded to the right. Okay, this is a closed, this is going to the right, this is an open circle, and this is shaded to the left. Okay, so just so you know the difference between an open or closed circle, shaded to the left, shaded to the right. We're going to go ahead and do some examples. So you want to flip your page over onto the back, or use a separate sheet of paper, or take a picture of these right now, because when we're done, these notes are going to be on a separate picture than our examples. So here's our examples. We're going to solve them and then also graph them. Okay, so we use kind of the same sort of steps as we did with solving equations. Our goal is to isolate our x. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides so that I can get my variable by itself. I get 6x, that's not a 7, so that says 6x is greater than 42. I'm going to divide both sides by 6, and I get x is greater than 7. So you're going to go ahead and draw like a little number line. Okay, here's 0. I'm going to put 0 on the number line, and then 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what you're going to do is go ahead and draw an open circle at 7. And since it's a greater than symbol, x is greater than 7, all of the numbers greater than would be shaded to the right. Okay, let's go on to number 2. So number 2 says 14 is greater than or equal to 2/3 x plus 6. So I see a fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and isolate that by subtracting 6 on both sides. 14 minus 6 is 8, so 8 is greater than or equal to 2/3 x. All right, so if you remember from our notes yesterday, the way that you can get rid of a fraction is by multiplying by its reciprocal. So 3/2, I'm going to multiply on both sides. What happens when you multiply by the reciprocal is that your multiplying by 3 and dividing by 3 cancel. Your multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2 cancels. So now I just have x by itself over there on the right-hand side. And then when you multiply 3 times 8 over 2 times 1, because you can change the 8 to just be a 1 on the bottom. And we're going to get x by itself over here, and then I get 24 divided by 2. So I would get 12 is greater than or equal to x. So when we decide on our open and closed circle, we look at the inequality. If there's a line underneath it, that means that it's going to be closed. But we normally want our x on the other side. So we would switch the x and the 12 on the sides. And if you switch sides, you also have to switch the inequality. This statement says 12 is greater than or equal to x. The green statement says 12 is greater than or equal to x. The blue statement says x is less than or equal to 12. Those are the same statements, just written opposite ways. So on a number line, here again, I'll put 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, we're going to have a closed circle because there's a line underneath. That means closed circle. It could be or equal to, and it says x is less than or equal to. So that means we're going to shade all of these numbers to the left. Let's keep going. Example number 3 says negative 7x plus 2 is less than negative 19. So I'm going to isolate my x by subtracting 2 on both sides. I get negative 7x is less than negative 21. And now I need to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 7. So one thing you have to remember, though, is if you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So it becomes x is greater than negative 21 divided by negative 7 is positive 3. And when we put that onto a number line, okay, positive 3, I'm going to put 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have an open circle. Let me do a better color. I'm going to have an open circle at positive 3 since it's greater than. And then x is greater than 3 means I'm going to shade over here to the right. One way that I kind of remember it is that the arrow is pointing the way I'm going to shade. So I'm pointing to the right. That's the way I'm going to shade. 2 more examples. So my next one says negative x divided by 3 minus 5 is less than or equal to 3. So I'm going to isolate my x term by itself. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I get negative x over 3 is less than or equal to 8. All right, so I have a 3 on the bottom. It says negative x divided by 3. The way that I can get rid of a 3 would be to multiply both sides by 3. And now I'm left with negative x is less than or equal to 24. That is not our final answer though, because we can't leave the negative in front of our x. We would technically be dividing both sides by -1. And if we divide both sides by -1, if you divide by a negative, that's going to change the sign. So instead of a less than or equal to, it now becomes a greater than or equal to. And positive 24 divided by -1 is negative 24. So I'm going to put 0 over here, and then negative 24, I'm going to count by 2s. Or no, I'll do 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24. Negative 24. And it says x is greater than or equal to negative 24. So it's a closed circle at negative 24. And it's greater than, which means that we shade to the right. So greater than, all of these numbers are greater than. I could plug anything these into the x. 0 is greater than or equal to negative 24. 2 is greater than or equal to. Any of those numbers shaded are greater than or equal to negative 24. All right, last one. I have negative 9 is less than or equal to 4x plus 7. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract my 7 onto both sides to get my x by itself. I get negative 16 is less than or equal to 4x. I'm going to get x by itself by dividing both sides by 4. I get negative 4 is less than or equal to x. I do not flip the sign. I did not divide by a negative number. I have a negative number divided by a positive number, so I don't flip the sign. But I don't want I always want my x on the left. So I'm going to switch sides. And when you switch sides, you switch the sign. So the blue equation says negative 4 is less than or equal to x. The other equation says x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Those are the same statements, just written opposite ways. So on my number line, I'm going to go to negative 4. And I'm going to have a closed circle because it says that it could be or equal to negative 4. So it could be equal to negative 4. It says x is greater than, and greater than would mean I would shade to the right. All of these numbers are greater than negative 4. Okay. All right, so here's how it works. You're going to get your digital notebook, open to slide 7. You want to do it right away. You're not waiting until another time. You already have the essential question written down, so I didn't make you guys write it again. If you came up with any questions while you were watching your video notes, you can type them right here so that you remember to ask them in class. And then over here, you summarize what you learned or just summarize what the notes are. You can answer the essential question. On the left-hand side, this is the notes part. So you should have one picture of the notes part. That's this stuff right here. And then on this side, you should have the examples. That's these 5 problems right here. So you should have them all handwritten and completed, and then take pictures of them and put them onto your digital notebook, okay, to be graded on the day of the test. Go do your homework, assigned problems in Google Classroom.